I am curious. You dabble in so many different avenues inside of the business consulting world. What's your favorite to work in and why?
Private companies are tougher to work with. They oftentimes don't have revenue like the OTC companies don't, but they can't give you any shares because they're private, and it's hard to go and work with them because they don't have any way to pay you. And I've had situations where I've worked with private companies in the past and I've took equity and it didn't work out. For example, I was involved in an oil and gas private company in Canada a couple years back, and I made the biggest mistake, and I'm embarrassed to even admit this. I sold a little early, about 3 or 4 months after I sold my stake in that oil and gas company. They got acquired by a public Canadian company, right? So yeah.
Why did you sell?
And this is the case with a lot of shareholders and or investors in companies. I was losing faith in the management. Transparency was an issue. I didn't think that the management was handling the negotiations well with the public company. I was aware that they were reaching out and negotiating with some companies, but I thought that they were kind of selling our assets short, and I just kind of bailed out because I didn't think it was going to even honestly get completed, and I was wrong.
Yeah,
and it happens. I've hit on some things, and I've whiffed as well. So
give me an idea of the scale here. You sell for X. How much more was Y if you would have waited till the acquisition?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I sold it for thousands. It's probably worth at least tens of thousands now. Yeah, the company's a good sized company, so it just depends. There's a lot of conditions involved in it for them. So I don't have all the ins and outs because I was already out when they finally did it, but yeah, we'll see how it works out. Like I said,
yeah.
I definitely lost money. I'll say that.
Sure.
I made maybe $5,000, and I'm assuming it's worth probably a lot more than that right now. Probably 20 or so, 30,000.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I gotta wonder though, as someone of your skill set, coming from Wall Street, now in investor relations and helping businesses out with that, you must have like a leg up against the average retail investor in terms of knowing what to look for in a company to invest in. Do you not?
Sure. I mean, I look at a lot of different things. I look at the numbers, like a lot of people do. I look at patterns over 2-year periods, 6-month periods. But one of the things that I go above and beyond, if I'm going to invest in a company or become a shareholder, I call the management and I speak to them. I ask them if they have an investor deck. If they do, I ask if they'll send it to me. I ask them questions that I would ask any business I would potentially work with.
Yeah.
And they should be able to answer those.
For any investment amount, you'll talk to the management.
Correct, because I'm not going to put my money into something that is potentially going to lose me money if I can help it. Because you can learn a lot by talking to the management and gauging where their vision is with the company. You don't necessarily have to agree with every part of their vision for the company long term, but there has to be a long-term play involved, especially with a public company. If you're OTC, you should either be looking to uplist to a major exchange like the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, or you should be looking for a merger or be acquired by a major. That should be the end game for most of these companies. For example, one of the companies I'm working with now, that was one of the major questions I asked him. I said, what's the long-term end game here? Is it to become a New York Stock Exchange or a NASDAQ company and run this and keep the patents? And he said, no, I think what you said was the best route. I think we build it up and we try to license the patents out and then potentially down the road sell the patents. So that's his exit strategy, which I agreed with. And that was what made me say, okay, he's got a really good strategy of how he can execute the end game of this company, which, I have 1.3 million shares in the company. So if the end game works out, it's a good end game for me. So